We began with director Sidney Lumet. He has won 6 Oscars and been nominated for 46 other over the course of his career.
For over half a century, Sidney Lumet stood as one of Hollywood's most revered filmmakers. A man who understood not just the mechanics of cinema, but the soul of it. Known for masterpieces like 12 Angry Men, Dog Day Afternoon, and Network, Lumet crafted films that were honest.
Television producers think is reality. Aaron Spelling's version of what reality is.
Raw and relentlessly human. But what inspired the man who inspired millions? In one of his final in-depth conversations before his passing, Lumet finally opened up about the 7 films that shaped his life. The movies that, in his words, reminded me why I ever picked up a camera. Each of these films carried a personal connection, not just for their artistry, but for what they taught him about truth, morality, and the fragile beauty of human nature.
Speech, because it's when he's still in his normal anchorman's clothes and when he's still comparatively sane that he says, I just got tired of the bull.
These are the 7 films Sidney Lumet loved most. The ones that defined his craft, moved his heart, and reflected his soul. 1. 12 Angry Men, 1957. It might seem predictable for a director to include his own film, but Lumet didn't shy away from the truth. 12 Angry Men wasn't just his first feature film.
Okay, let's get to the point.
It was his moral compass. He often said, if I could make just one movie that defines what I believe in, it would be 12 Angry Men. The story of 12 jurors locked in a room, battling over the fate of a young man accused of murder, wasn't just courtroom drama. It was a mirror held up to society. Lumet loved it because it embodied everything he valued: empathy, doubt, justice, and courage. He once revealed that he watched it every year to remind himself of the power of ordinary men doing extraordinary things. For Lumet, 12 Angry Men wasn't about verdicts or guilt. It was about humanity, the uncomfortable truth that we are all flawed.
And what about this business of the L?
Biased, yet capable of grace. It was, in his eyes, the kind of movie the world always needs. 2. Citizen Kane, 1941. When asked about Citizen Kane, Lumet smiled with the admiration of a craftsman watching another master at work. Orson Welles didn't just make a film, he said. He built a new language for cinema. He recalled seeing it for the first time as a young man in New York, sitting in a darkened theater, completely mesmerized. The deep focus shots,
Why I can't raise my own voice more than I can understand.
the overlapping dialogue, the non-linear storytelling. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. Lumet loved Citizen Kane not for its technical brilliance alone, but for its soul. It's about power, loneliness, and the illusion of success, he said. Every filmmaker starts chasing Charles Foster Kane's shadow at some point. He often told young directors that Citizen Kane was the film that taught us all to dream and to beware of our own dreams. 3. Bicycle Thieves, 1948. Italian neorealism changed Lumet's view of cinema forever, and no film captured that transformation like Bicycle Thieves. Directed by Vittorio De Sica, the story of a poor man and his son searching for a stolen bicycle in post-war Rome.
Ma allora che la faccia a fare sta denuncia?
Può servire. Metti che domani la trovi da qualche biciclettaio in mezzo alla via, chiama un agente e sei in regola.
Broke Lumet's heart and rebuilt it. He often said, that movie taught me that truth doesn't need a budget. Shot on the streets with non-professional actors, Bicycle Thieves revealed the beauty and simplicity and the power of empathy. Lumet was deeply moved by how De Sica captured dignity amidst despair, how a simple object, a bicycle, became a symbol of survival. He later admitted that the father-son dynamic influenced Dog Day Afternoon and Running on Empty. It showed me that real pain doesn't scream, he said, it whispers.
Ma che fai?
Beh, te cercavo.
4. Paths of Glory, 1957. Stanley Kubrick's Paths of Glory left an indelible mark on Lumet's conscience.
Talk around headquarters is that you are being considered for the 12th Corps.
The 12th Corps?
Yes, and with that another star.
The brutal portrayal of World War I, where soldiers were punished not for failure, but for prideful generals' mistakes, struck him as both horrifying and necessary. Lumet admired Kubrick's courage. "It takes guts to tell the truth about power," he said. Kubrick didn't just show war, he showed what war does to justice. He was haunted by the film's final scene, where a group of soldiers listens to a German girl singing, their anger melting into tears. "That scene," Lumet once said, "is everything I ever wanted to achieve, to make the audience feel compassion for the people we're told to hate." For him, Paths of Glory was a perfect balance of intellect and emotion, morality and madness.
General, the battery commander reports those are our own positions.
The kind of film that stays under your skin long after the credits roll. 5. The Godfather, 1972. When The Godfather hit theaters, Lumet already had a reputation as a serious filmmaker, but he walked out of that film humbled. Francis Ford Coppola's masterpiece changed everything. The scope, the structure, the tone of American cinema. "It's not just a gangster movie," Lumet said. "It's a Shakespearean tragedy in modern clothes."
I forgot the vengeance of my son.
He admired how Coppola humanized criminals, showing them as products of their culture and circumstance. Lumet often pointed out Michael Corleone's descent not as evil, but as inevitable. "We all like to think we're different," he said, "but under pressure, power changes everyone." He frequently rewatched The Godfather for its visual poetry and moral weight, calling it a reminder that even sin can be beautifully told. 6. Rashomon, 1950. Akira Kurosawa's Rashomon shook Lumet's entire understanding of storytelling. The film's structure, a single event told from multiple perspectives, fascinated him deeply. "The first time I saw Rashomon, I realized truth is not absolute." He said, "It's personal." Lumet, who spent his life exploring moral ambiguity in films like Network and The Verdict, drew directly from Kurosawa's philosophy. The notion that every person sees the world through their own distorted lens resonated with him. He said, "Kurosawa proved that cinema could question morality instead of preaching it." Lumet even admitted that Rashomon changed the way he directed actors. "I stopped asking them to play right. I asked them to play their truth." 7. The 400 Blows, 1959. When Lumet saw François Truffaut's The 400 Blows, he felt an ache in his chest. The film, a semi-autobiographical tale about a misunderstood boy in Paris, struck him as deeply personal. He saw his own childhood reflected in Antoine Doinel's eyes. The longing, the rebellion, the search for belonging. Lumet once confessed, "That boy was every artist I've ever known."
Pacino, speaking of actors, Dog Day Afternoon. There was that long scene on the
phone. I think that's as...
Alone, misunderstood, and running toward freedom, he adored how Truffaut made rebellion poetic. The long tracking shot of Antoine running toward the ocean, ending in that haunting freeze frame, Lumet called it the single greatest ending in cinema history. "The 400 Blows reminded me," he said softly, "that film is emotion before it's anything else." As Sidney Lumet looked back on his life, these 7 films remained his compass, guiding him, challenging him, and reminding him why he loves storytelling. He once said, "A good movie doesn't just entertain, it changes how you see yourself." Every frame of his own work, from the jury room of 12 Angry Men to the chaos of Dog Day Afternoon, carried echoes of these films. They were the building blocks of his art and the reflections of his philosophy. In his final years, Lumet said he no longer sought perfection, only honesty. "If my films can live in the same world as these 7, he said, "then I've done my job." And with that quiet humility, the great director left behind not just a legacy of films, but a lesson in humanity. That truth, no matter how small or flawed, is always worth capturing.